Hello and welcome to another edition of ATL Prime Sports. I'm Jurjevich. Joining me this evening is my co-host Larry Gardner and of course our fabulous producer Wayne Ridenauer up in beautiful Memphis, Tennessee. You can catch us all at ATL Prime Sports on Facebook, X, Instagram, YouTube, Apple, and Spotify. Personal X's at JJ Get You One for myself, at RWY Junior for Wayne, at LG for Real Though for Larry, and at Corder Todd for TC Todd Corder, who is out visiting with his son before he ships off to basic training or something along those lines with the military. So hats off to TC and his son for serving this fine country. How's everybody doing? Larry, how we doing, buddy?
Life's good. I have no complaints. Things are getting ready to get into the swing of things. It is fully, I know for most people, basketball season now here in the Atlanta area, but things are good, man. I appreciate you for asking.
Yes, sir. Glad to have you on tonight. Wayne, how you doing, buddy?
Well, I don't know how many people have noticed this. If you're listening on the radio, of course, or Spotify, you're not noticing this, but I have an Auburn Tiger hat on today. And the reason is because they are now ranked in the top 25 in the polls. They're playing tonight against Texas A&M, so I'm hoping the best for them. And so now I got both Tiger teams ranked in the top 25. Pretty cool.
Yeah, got to be a good start to the basketball season for you. Wayne, I'm doing just fine as well. Thanks for asking. Knowing we're under 80 days from Major League Baseball's first pitch. And on a side baseball note, the Mississippi Braves will be moving from Pearl, Mississippi to Columbus, Georgia for the 2025 season. So you will have your double A, you'll have single double, basically everything right here in Atlanta. You'll have single, double, triple A all the way up to your Major League Baseball program, which is pretty cool for your Atlanta Braves organization, which makes it easy for guys to travel around. And when you do call up a guy from single to double or double to triple or from double A to the big boys, aka Michael Harris, it makes it very easy to locate these guys and get them to Truist Park as soon as possible. What's on tap for today's show? Arthur Smith fired after 3, 7, and 10 years. Who's next? An NFL playoffs a little preview. It kicks off Saturday afternoon. We'll give our AFC and NFC championship predictions. We'll hold off on our Super Bowl predictions for a little bit. Michigan wins 34-13. A new college football champion was crowned. Will he stay or will he go? Jim Harbaugh, yet again. Another year, another Jim Harbaugh question. What do you know? And, of course, our pick six. We're getting down to the end of it there. The NFL playoffs are set, and the coaching carousel has begun. Let's go around the NFL with some NFL quick hits. And let's first start right here in Atlanta. The Falcons have parted ways with Arthur Smith. Smith went 21-30 in 3 years as head coach of the Dirty Birds. Who do you think gets the job? And note your top 3 candidates for that position. I think we all are obviously going to say Jim Harbaugh. So really just give me 2, because I think everybody in America that's got an open coaching vacancy is going to give Jim Harbaugh a call. Heck, I think our little league program down the street is going to give Jim Harbaugh a call. Their job just came up. No, I'm just teasing. Larry, what say you, man? I'm interested. I know you and Todd went on Twitter Spaces, and you guys can go check that at Corder Todd and hear Larry's and Todd's play-by-play with our back and forth, I should say, with Will McFadden of the Falcoholics. So, Larry, who are your top 3 guys? And, well, really 2, because we all know one of them.
Yeah, Harbaugh is one of the top ones, but I don't know if I'd call him my number 1. I do want a winner, though. And that's going to be the hard part, because I think this cycle of trying to find the latest up-and-comer with a OC or a DC, I think it has to stop. Because with the exception of maybe Mike Smith and Dan Quinn, obviously, that strategy has not gone well for Arthur Blank since he bought the team in 2002. So I think it has to stop. I think you're going to have somebody with some experience. I know people are saying Bill Belichick, but honestly, and I know this is going to sound so bad, but I do not want a 71-year-old guy as the head coach of my team who's only 10 years or maybe 11 years younger than my owner. Yeah, it ain't because of just the age gap is because you've done what you really needed to do. You're there. You're trying to prove what you've needed to prove. But since you had Tom Brady been gone, you haven't really shown anything. So I really don't want that. Harbaugh is in it. I say he'd be my number 3. Honestly, if I had to go to coordinator route, I would go Mike McDonald, the defensive coordinator for the Baltimore Ravens, for 2 reasons. A, he's been a part of the Harbaugh family, so you can still get that same type of mentality for less cost, a.k.a. the Timu or Sheen version. And then B, my next one in that list is also somebody that was just let go today, but I hope he brings in a good coordinator on both sides of the ball, and that's Mike Vrabel, the now former head coach of the Tennessee Titans. Those would be my 3 people. It would be Harbaugh, Vrabel, and Mike McDonald. Those are my top 3.
I like it. I like Mike Vrabel a lot. I'd love to see him slide over. But I think the only problem with that, Larry, is I don't know if that's going to go over well. The former offensive coordinator for Vrabel comes over, and then you just go get the head coach from Tennessee. I'm with you. I think he's one of the best football guys, especially with the rules of the game. A couple situations at the end of games, 3 or 4 years ago, where nobody knew that rule where you could run the clock out, and he was able to take advantage of that rule and beat the man himself. I think it was Bill Belichick in that game. So I personally don't mind that one at all. Vrabel would be bring a winning culture with him, and he knows how to get the most out of less. I'm kind of going on the same lines. Obviously, Jim Harbaugh, you're going to give him a call. I've said it a couple times, seeing how their season was over last night. He has a 44-19-1 record in the NFL, and you got great production from Alex Smith and Colin Kaepernick, guys that at the time weren't really highly regarded in the NFL. And remember, Jim Harbaugh, you can almost credit him for revamping Alex Smith's career there. Number 2 for me is Todd Monken, offensive coordinator for the Baltimore Ravens. The way he has done more with less, for example, Stetson Bennett, and how he uses tight ends. We all think Kyle Pitts was that unicorn. Maybe Todd Monken can use that guy like he did with Brock Bowers at Georgia, or like he did with Mark Andrews in Baltimore this year. And when Mark Andrews went down, he did extremely well with Isaiah Likely, who had, I believe it's 5 touchdowns over the last 5 weeks of the year. So you're talking about a guy that gets it done with what he's got in the program, and he does have a little bit of head coaching experience, as he was a head coach at Southern Miss, and he was coach of the year in that conference, I believe, in 2015. So he's got a little bit of head coaching experience. He has plenty of NFL knowledge, and he's done great things with walk-on quarterbacks and guys that were injured and fill in for all pros like Mark Andrews. So I think Todd Monken would be a great choice. I think Ben Johnson, the offensive coordinator for the Detroit Lions, would be my 3rd guy because of the way he led the passing attack in Detroit. He got Goff as really instilled him, reinvigorated his career in Detroit, saying, hey, this is the guy we're building around now. There's no talk about going to get the quarterback like there was a couple years ago. Goff's the guy, and it's because of Ben Johnson. I like those 3 guys. Wayne, give me a guy or 2 you're looking forward to fill in for Arthur Smith.
Yeah, I'm more along the lines of getting a former NFL head coach, and that Mike Vrabel seems like the best one to me. I don't think they need to go down the coordinator bumped up to head coach or a college head coach that can come in and all of a sudden magically know what's going on in the NFL. So that's really the only one I'm looking at, and anything else is just going to be something more to struggle with.
Yeah, I like what you guys are saying. That's why I put Monken on that list and Harbaugh number 1, obviously. I think another one we all agree on is Mike Vrabel. I also think another good hire. Look, Larry, I want to hear your thoughts on this too. Please banner back with me. Guys, I can't give you a reason why Dan Quinn shouldn't get another chance to come back in Atlanta and finish what he started. Larry, what say you about that?
I actually posed that question to Will McFadden earlier today, and it would be a absolute, because I honestly believe had he won the Super Bowl, he'd still be our head coach.
100%.
But I think the problem that you run into is that Mr. Blank and Mr. McKay have too big of an ego to admit that they were wrong in firing him when they did, instead of giving him the opportunity to work through some issues, kind of like what Coach Tomlin in Pittsburgh is working through now. I think both of their egos are too big for them to admit that and to have him come back. I don't think I've ever seen that happen before in a NFL franchise. So while it may be probably the good thing to do, because he was awesome when he had himself and Kyle Shanahan here as coordinators, and they were able to create some amazing magic, at the same time, it would just be a bad look overall for the franchise, especially nationally, when we already look like a loser mentality. The episode, I call it the episode of Groundhog Day, where we're basically a 7-win team 5 out of the last 6 years. And even though I think he would be great to have, because he's a brilliant mind, I don't think the egos of the power that be would allow that to happen. And because of that, I think they're going to go the route, and I hate to even say it, but my heart of hearts tells me they're going to go another coordinator route. And because if you do Harbaugh, number one, he's going to command $20 to $30 million a year.
Mm-hmm.
They're not going to want to pay that. Number two, he's probably going to want to have personnel control. Well, I don't think that's going to be a problem, considering the fact of how both Mr. McKay and Mr. Blank talked about Terry Fontenot's role as a GM. I mean, he's basically a figurehead. Rich McKay controls all the shots. So if that's the case, that tells me from the outside looking in, there's a bunch of dysfunction in how the personnel department for the Atlanta Falcons is being ran from the top down to the coach. Do you want to get involved in that? And that's going to be something that the next head coach is going to think about as well. But long story short version for you, JJ, I would love it, but at the same time, I don't think their egos would allow it.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I agree with you 100%. I would not mind him getting another shot to finish what he started. I said this to Todd off the air. I said, I wish Matt Ryan would have had a little Jameis Winston in him in that Super Bowl and just said, bleep it. We're running the football here. Who knows what would have happened?
Yeah.
All right, so that wraps us up on our Falcons head coaching vacancy. Arthur Smith wasn't the only coach to lose his job. The Washington Commanders fired Ron Rivera as well. Raiders, they're open. Panthers are open. Chargers are open. And as we mentioned, the Titans are now open with Mike Vrabel. Let's go over those head coaching vacancies and give a quick guy or two for the positions, because every coaching vacancy, they're all calling a similar group of guys. There's only 32 jobs like this in the entire world, so everybody's going to interlap here. For the Panthers, I think Ravens defensive coordinator Mike McDonald, another Falcons guy. Again, all these are going to be intertwined. You can put him there. I do think the Raiders should stick with Antonio Pierce and what he's done in the short time there. He kind of got O'Connell really looking at like a pretty good NFL quarterback, got the team playing together, got him playing as a team. I think he has a real shot at keeping that job. For the Chargers, I like the offensive coordinator down there in Miami, Frank Smith. Commanders, Rams defensive coordinator, former Atlanta Falcons defensive coordinator Raheem Morris. And up there in Nashville, I think they are the ones that go after Eric Bieniemy and get the coveted offensive coordinator, former offensive coordinator for the Kansas City Chiefs. Those are some of my guys. Again, you can interplace these guys with each city, really, and each team, because they're all very highly qualified guys. Larry, what say you about some of these openings?
Well, Antonio Pierce is one that's in my top 5 for Atlanta. I just have this. I want a guy that's not only a leader of men, but I want a guy that can do more with less. And I would love somebody that would have just an absolute fundamentally sound way of being able to control the line of scrimmage. But by the time most of these jobs are going to be filled, I really think it's going to be a lot. I think it's going to be similar to the coaching cycle that had the Sean McVay, the Brandon Staley, when Coach Flores took the job there at Miami, and that cycle of coaches. I think it's going to be a lot here where I think you might see 2 proven head coaches get jobs, and then the rest filled by the next what we call up and comers or hot coordinators. And it's so early to tell because a lot of this will continue to shake out as the playoffs take place and teams are eliminated and other teams get permission from people to be able to speak to their coordinators as they are eliminated. So I think that's something to watch out for too, is as the playoffs proceed, to see what names also get thrown in the hats of these head coaching vacancies as some of these playoff teams are eliminated.
Wayne, you had a funny comment you wanted to get in.
Well, you were talking about the coaches and everything that could come in for Atlanta, and you had accidentally said Ron Washington, and I started thinking, well, maybe Ron Washington's not too bad because I believe that dude could do anything.
He got the job. He got the Angels job. Maybe he can just transition over. Who knows?
Yeah, they don't cut those. They don't conflict that much. What's that, Larry?
Well, Wayne, think about it. The Commanders owner just hired Bob Myers, the former GM of the Golden State Warriors, to help along with the former GM of the Vikings and put like a super duo team together to try to lead their search. So ain't nothing out of the realm of possibility.
Hey, leaders of men. I heard you say it many times there, Larry, and I appreciate that.
Yeah, the Commanders are in the next step. Instead of just their athletes wanting to compete in multiple sports, they want their general managers and everything to just anything. MLB owners, managers, third base coaches, come on, apply for the job. We're not turning anybody down. I'm just teasing. All right, guys. The NFL playoffs are set. Let's give our AFC, NFC championship predictions. I'll kick this one off. Look, I'm riding this Bills train. I think they're hot. I'm going Bills and Browns in the AFC. I like Josh Allen. I like the way they've turned their defense around the last 5 weeks. They had to basically play for their playoff hopes the last 5 weeks in a row. I mean, again, 5 weeks ago they were 6-6. Now they're 11-6. They're the second seed. They're hosting a home playoff game, and who knows? We'll see what happens. But I like the Bills and the Browns in the AFC. I love what Joe Flacco's doing. Jerome Ford taking over for Nick Chubb has done a wonderful job catching the ball out of the backfield, running between the tackles. Kareem Hunt's revamped his career near the goal line as well. Amari Cooper having a great day on Christmas Eve, a career day, breaking Josh Gordon's old Cleveland Browns record. So they're playing extremely hot right now. I like those two teams in the AFC. And the NFC, I like the Niners and Kyle Shanahan and the Lions and Dan Campbell. Look, Dan Campbell's instilled the culture. Now it's time to just do the winning. They got to the playoffs. They host a home playoff game for the first time in over 30 years. That building will be rocking. The environment in there has got to be pure excitement. All they got to do is calm down and play football, and I think they can go to the NFC title game. And again, I like the 49ers. Brock Purdy, what Kyle Shanahan's doing out west with Christian McCaffrey, I think he'll be good to go for the playoff run. Samuel, Kittle, the offensive weapons are nuts. They're able to get after the quarterback. They'll turn you over timely. They just don't make many mistakes, and they don't beat themselves. So I like the 49ers in that aspect. Larry, what say you, man? Give me your Final Four in the NFL.
Well, my Final Four is a little different than yours only because I believe Baltimore is still the team to beat. I've seen how they played Cleveland, with Cleveland being in their own division both times here this season. Lamar Jackson is playing otherworldly. Todd Monken and Mike McDonald have got those offensive and defensive units playing very sound football. I've got to go with Baltimore. And as much as I hate to say this, and y'all gonna probably laugh at me for saying this, but I believe the Pittsburgh Steelers are gonna shock the world and make it to the AFC Championship game. And the only reason I say this is because this seems a lot familiar to Big Ben's second year. I think it was either rookie or his second year when they ended up going all the way to the Super Bowl and winning it with the Santonio Holmes catch out there in Arizona. When you catch fire the last 3-4 weeks of the regular season, that momentum takes with you all the way through the playoff picture. And I just believe it's going to be another nasty Baltimore-Pittsburgh smash mouth, ugly style AFC North picture. And I think Baltimore end up coming out to get the revenge over the game that they played without most of their starters. In the NFC, I still like San Francisco, and I still like them Dallas Cowboys. Because one thing is for sure, and two things for certain. Good defense will take you a long way, but an even better offense will help you when that defense isn't performing. And I think Dallas has been able to generate points all season long. I still think it's going to be a rematch of the game we saw a couple of weeks ago on Monday Night Football. I still say it's going to be Baltimore and San Francisco in the Super Bowl, and I think Baltimore will beat them again. I just think this is Lamar Jackson's season.
I like it. I don't hate the Steelers pick at all, Larry. They're playing with house money. You mentioned it, teams that are playing for their playoff right and sneak in. Those teams usually do fairly well. Let's take a look at Seattle a couple years ago with the Beastquake run when they beat the world beater New Orleans Saints. You know, things happen. Crazier things can happen when you're playing with house money. Anything can happen. A motivated team is very hard to beat, and Mike Tomlin's a great coach. Mason Rudolph is literally playing with house money right now, playing cool, calm, collected football, not turning the football over, and he's getting into his playmakers on the outside, George Pickens and Deontay Johnson, and they're running the football effectively with Najee Harris and Warren. So I don't hate the pick there. I think they could catch fire, and anything can happen in this league. Wayne, you have a pick for an AFC, NFC title game, or you just kind of throwing some teams out there? Either way works.
Yeah, I'm going to kind of throw some teams out there, and these teams have all been mentioned already once, but I'm not going to say these are going to be the top four, but the Super Bowl that I would like to see is going to be Detroit and Cleveland. That's the one I'd like to see. Now, unfortunately, the one that we're most likely to see is San Francisco and Baltimore, and that wouldn't be bad, and it might be a cool little Hollywood thing to have two brothers win the one win the Super Bowl, one win national championship. But, you know, that's the only thing I don't want to see is I don't want to see Philadelphia or Kansas City in it.
Yeah, I want some new blood in there myself. I love the Harbaugh comment because Jim made a great comment in his press conference earlier today. He said, now I can sit at the big kids table. Yeah. John's got a championship. My dad's got a championship. Now I finally have my championship. I thought that was pretty good. Larry, any final thoughts on the NFL playoffs, head coaching vacancies, or anything before we move on? I want to make sure everybody gets their final thoughts in.
Oh, no, JJ, I'm good. I'm looking forward to it. I think this is probably the most evenly matched NFL playoffs that I can remember probably within the last 10 years. I'm looking forward to it. I mean, even though you still got your odds-on favorites, I think anybody can beat anybody in any given matchup this year. And we've seen them do it during the regular season. Playoffs are a different animal, but I'm looking forward to it. I think every game is going to be worth watching. I don't think you're going to have any snooze fest or any blowout.
I'm right there with you. I think it'll be really fun. It's exciting. I think every team is above 500, which is awesome to see as well. Makes more exciting football moving forward. As they say, any given Sunday, folks. College football topic here. The Michigan Wolverines are your 2023 national champions, defeating Washington 34-13 last night. Let's go over your thoughts on the game, guys. I'll tee this one off again. I'll have some fun with it. Michigan's first title since '97. They split with Nebraska that year, which I think they would have destroyed Nebraska that year and probably should have been sole champions, but that's a conversation for a different day. And won the game at the line of scrimmage. They dominated. Looked like it was going to be a repeat of last year's TCU Georgia game out the gates. 4 rushing touchdowns for Michigan in the game to go along with 303 rushing yards. But here's the crazy stat. And I had to rethink this. I thought it was about 150 rushing yards. Michigan had over 220 rushing yards in the first quarter of this football game.
That's
they
dumb.
were gashing the Huskies left and right, guys.
I'm sure the Huskies didn't expect that either.
Yeah, it was unbelievable. I expected Washington to give up some chunk plays here and there, but not 2 40-yard runs and a 60-yarder within the first 15 minutes of the game. It was or something along those lines. So again, 4 touchdowns rushing the football for Michigan. McCarthy didn't really have to do much, just a little over 135, 140 yards passing, fairly accurate with the football. On the other side, it was a bad day for Michael Penix to play his worst game in terms of accuracy. Didn't throw the football very well, missed open receivers, but Michigan got after him, and he was beat up, and you saw him after the game. He was holding his chest, his ribs, his legs, his arms. He was beat up, and Michigan played physical. They outcoached Washington, and it was a fun game to watch. I really credit the Huskies for getting back in this ball game because, again, I thought we were on route patrol early in that game. Larry, your thoughts on this, and we'll throw it to Wayne.
No, it's the definition of this game was the physicality at the line of scrimmage. And when you start seeing the repetitive false start penalties on Washington's side because they could not tell where the Michigan pressure was coming from, and when you do finally get a decent snap, Michael Penix couldn't even count to 2 before he had somebody in his face. And if you dominate the line of scrimmage, you're almost guaranteed to win any football game that you play in. And I always said the key matchup for this contest would be Michigan's defensive front 7 against Washington's offensive line. And if they were continue to dominate, that you could, I mean, it wouldn't even be close. And we saw it play out for us in front of us right on live TV. It's unfortunate for Michael Penix because he was having such a great season and postseason. But that being said, most of us who watch college football on a regular know that the Pac-12 is really a finesse conference. They don't know how to the smash mouth power 100% I formation, pistol formation football just beat you down like bully ball, and they experienced it live and in color. The harsh reality is they're going to be regular season opponents come next season. So you better start getting some big boys in your transfer portals and in your recruiting classes, because that's the type of football you're going to see starting next year going forward.
Oh, well said. Great point. I'll piggyback on that saying this, Oregon and Dan Lanning are building towards that type of football. They're close. This is Dan Lanning's second year, and he's getting depth that I didn't think you could get in 2 years, but he's doing a great job. So Oregon, Washington transitioning to the Big Ten, definitely look out for that next year. Going to be an exciting Michigan-Washington game next year. Going to be exciting Michigan-Texas next year. Michigan-USC next year. Just going to be really exciting in the Big Ten in general. Wayne, your thoughts on that national championship game last night, guys, and then we'll talk Jim Harbaugh real quick.
All right. Well, I would say about after the first quarter, it looked like Washington was too nervous, and maybe their socks were too loose, because have they ever been in that big of a spotlight before in the past? Because I don't think they have, whereas Michigan is almost constantly in the spotlight. I think that had some effect on them. It's the bigness of the situation.
Yeah, playing experience in a college football playoff game is huge. Michigan players had been there, done that. Washington hadn't been in the college football playoffs since Jake Browning, the Cincinnati Bengals quarterback, backing up Joe Burrow, was there with Chris Peterson. They lost to Alabama, I think, like 24-6 in a pretty competitive game. So they didn't have that experience, and they didn't see the big bright lights. And but again, I give credit to Washington for clawing back into that game and slowing down that run to where it was just over 100 yards from the first quarter to the fourth, after the first quarter to the fourth quarter. They really run fit really well moving forward in that game, and they just got worn down. The offensive line for Michigan really instilled their will, and by the fourth quarter, it showed.
Yeah. Well, so what you're saying is you, like myself, felt like there was a chance right there in that third quarter, but then our hopes were dashed.
Yes, our hopes were dashed, and I was this close, I thought, to getting to a 6-0 pick six record. It was very close. Guys, any final thoughts on this game? And we'll go play the Will He Stay or Will He Go with Jim Harbaugh one more time. I think we're ready to go. All right, guys.
Good.
All right.
Let's do it. Will he stay or will he go? It's Jim Harbaugh going back to Michigan, or is he going to the NFL? Larry, I'm interested to hear what you have to say first. Go ahead, buddy.
I think it's all about the money. I think if he gets the perfect deal where he gets his $20 to $30 million a year, and he gets total autonomy over the roster and the personnel decisions, I think he goes. If he does not get that correct scenario, I think he comes back to Michigan for another year. Because regardless of whether it's this year or next year, his name is not going to come off the coaching carousel seat. He's too good of a brilliant football mind not to. But as we've heard Deion Sanders say several times, it's a whole lot easier to coach 18 to 23-year-old men than it is to coach millionaires.
Yeah.
And when you start coaching millionaires, you begin to coach egos. Here, the biggest ego he has to worry about is himself. And the people in Ann Arbor love him, especially after last night. Took him 10 years to get there, but he finally got to the top of the mountain. People don't understand the wear and the tear, and he knows it because he's lived it. The wear and the tear that the NFL schedule and the demands and the media responsibilities and everywhere that you're pulled and tugged and everything else, it's such a demand more so in the NFL than it is in college. And I honestly believe that he enjoys being able to impact the lives of these young men as they go into the workforce, as they go into the NFL, as they become fathers and husbands on themselves. I think it's going to take a quote-unquote perfect scenario for him. The money is going to have to be right, and he's going to have total autonomy or control over the roster, and then I think he might go. But otherwise, if I had to give you a percentage right now, I think it's probably 75 he stays, 25 he goes.
I'm right there with you. I think he's at Michigan. I do. I think everybody gives him a call, but I think he loves it there. I think the turmoil that was this season and the pandemic season, from dropping his salary or Michigan cutting his salary to this and that, everything that's happened, he's just put the blinders on and said, I love my alma mater. I love Michigan. That's all he's done. And he's bringing up revenue sharing opportunities and this and that and talking about, to me, it sounds like he wants to try and fix the problems of college football and stay right where he is. There's one coach in the NFL that makes more than $20 million or right at $20 million. It's Bill Belichick. And he has multiple roles. So that's why he gets $20 million. I think at the college level, you'll be able to make more money in the near future with NIL and boosters being able to donate money and all this. I think you'll be able to make more money in college, and it is a more year-round job. But I'm with you, Larry. I think it's a little easier to mold young men than to mold millionaires into a winning culture. So I think what he's done at Michigan stands for itself. Everybody was on the hot seat and fired. Everybody thought he was getting fired. Everybody's thought he's left. For 4, 5, 6 years in a row, This has happened. And he stayed. And I think John U. Bacon has said it best. He's at Michigan until he's gone. And I think that's where he'll stay. He's at the top of the college football mountain right now. It took a couple of tries to get there, and he just kept chinking away, and he got there his way. And look, he develops guys. He doesn't go and get world beater recruiting classes. He's right there outside of the top 10. He's in the top 20. He's not getting the best 4 and 5 star guys. He's developing talent at an elite level. And they have 10, 12 guys that are probably going to get drafted, maybe even more from that Michigan football team. I think he's home. I think he's here to stay in Ann Arbor. And I think pretty soon he'll just go, this is my home, guys. I'm not fielding any more calls. Wayne, what say you?
Yeah, I think he's going to stay too. And would be an interesting scenario is if he decided to retire from Michigan when Saban retires from Alabama, and the two of them go over on the ESPNU and start having a job hosting a show or something. Maybe put them behind the big table.
The two goats.
Yeah, the goat show.
So, yeah, I think we're all in agreement there. Jim Harbaugh's at the top of the college football. He's built something that's there to stay. And it doesn't look like it's going to run its course for quite some time. As some coaches have short-lived success, some have long success. Look at Ed Orgeron at LSU. And every coach has their shelf life. I think Jim Harbaugh's is there for a long time. Remember, folks, he is 60 years old. So he is at the latter part of his coaching career, whether we like it or not. And I think he feels home in Ann Arbor. And I think we're all in agreement he stays. Larry, any final thoughts on Jim Harbaugh? Will he stay or will he go?
No, I think it's going to be an interesting show to see unfold over the next 3 to 4 weeks. I think it is going to be very, very interesting to see how it all plays out. But as we've all stated, I just believe he's built too much to just let somebody else take over and really just continue to nurture his baby. I think he's back in Ann Arbor at the beginning of, I think he's just going to continue to stay at Ann Arbor, and we'll see him on the sidelines back in August here, or coming in August here this coming year.
Yeah, I think his heart's in I think his heart's in Ann Arbor, guys. I really do. I just think he's home there. He's comfortable there, and he's obviously performing at an elite level. Let's move on. It's time for our Pick Six, the ATL Prime Sports Pick Six. We pick 6 football games. Lines and spreads are from Monday per ESPN Bet. They bought their own betting rights, so got to credit the right people, you know. Don't want to plagiarize anybody here.
Yeah.
NFL playoffs, wild card round, game number 1, Browns 11-6, the 5th seed, traveled to Houston and NRG Stadium where the national championship game just took place to take on the 10-7 Texans. Cleveland, 2.5-point road favorites. Over under on that one's 43.5. This is Saturday at 4:30 p.m. on NBC. Larry, what say you?
Cleveland. Listen, The whole Houston fairy tale story and how head coach DeMeco Ryans has led that team to the playoffs in his first season is absolutely remarkable. Give the whole offensive staff for developing C.J. Stroud and making him the highlight quarterback that he has been, but he's not seen the likes of the defense that the dog pound is going to bring in front of him come this weekend. And when you've got probably who's going to be the defensive player of the year and Myles Garrett on the other side, I think they're just going to wreak too much havoc. I think Joe Flacco continues to do what he's done since he's taken over, and I think you can go to dog pound, baby. Give me Cleveland.
Yeah, this was interesting to me. Joe Flacco's 10-5 in his playoff career, and he's 5-0 in the wild card round. I think you see where I'm leaning with this. I really want that Browns-Lions Super Bowl. Flacco's last 4 starts have resulted in 4 straight 300-plus yard passing games. Last time these two played, Amari Cooper torched that secondary. A career day, 11 catches, 265 yards, 2 touchdowns. My fantasy football team says thank you because it got me a second-place finish. Got to the championship that week because of them. I like wacko for Flacco and the Cleveland Browns to cover. Wayne, what say you?
Well, I'm going to have to go with Cleveland as well because I'm looking for that Super Bowl thing. But, can we, and this is going to be a throwback to a couple of years ago, but can we finally say that Joe Flacco is an elite quarterback?
Hey, I personally think if he wins this Super Bowl, he's a first ballot Hall of Famer. Larry, what do you say about that real quick?
I mean, he's already got the Super Bowl win. He's about to help resurge a team that has been just absolutely putrid for decades. If he gets that Cleveland team to a Super Bowl, if he wins it, he's a guaranteed shoe-in. But I believe he can be, if he even gets it to the Super Bowl and he rides off into the sunset, because everybody thought his career was left for dead with the New York Jets. And look what he's done this year with the Cleveland Browns. That's why I think Matt Ryan could be of some service in Atlanta, but that's another conversation for a different day. But no, I think he's fringe Hall of Fame worthy right now, and another Super Bowl would just guarantee it.
I agree. Second game, back to the pick six, the 11-6 Dolphins at the 11-6 Chiefs. Kansas City's 3.5-point home favorites. Over under in this one's 42.5. 8:00 p.m. on Peacock. Wayne, what say you?
Yeah, I'm going with the Dolphins on this one, simply because I don't want the Chiefs to go any farther.
Ooh. Going with the upset. I don't hate the pick. Look, everybody's picking the Chiefs. It's cold. It's going to be 10 degrees the high, Larry. 10 degrees. The low is 0. That favors the Chiefs. Mahomes is at home in the playoffs. And here's the kicker for me. I'm going Chiefs to cover because the Dolphins are 1-9 versus teams with winning records under Mike McDaniel. Give me the Chiefs to cover, man. I want the Fish to win, though. I really do. I want the Fins to win. Larry, what you got?
No, I'm with you, JJ. That the last stat you said was the reason I'm picking Kansas City. 1-9. That's huge. Not only that, but the Dolphins have sustained too many high-profile injuries at the wrong time. Now, they played a great game in Buffalo last year in the snow when it was like 7 degrees last year, too, with a third-string quarterback. So I don't think the cold weather is going to bother them as much as people think it is. It's just the injuries are going to mount up at the wrong time, or the injuries have mounted up at the wrong time, and it's just not a good environment there to be in Kansas City with Mahomes in the playoff. And so give me Kansas City to do what they've done in years past and make it on to the next round.
Yeah, the chop really is loud up there in Kansas City when 70,000 are doing it. We think it's loud with nearly 50 in Truist. Boy, I'd love to hear it was 70. I think we're all in agreement there. It's going to be a fun ball game. Third game of I haven't mentioned Todd's picks, by the way. Todd's got the Browns and the Chiefs as well. Let's get to our third game. Now we're caught up. Steelers 10-7, Browns 11 and Steelers 10-7 at Bills 11-6. The I keep saying the Browns. What am I
You're
doing?
stuck on them, man.
The Buffalo Bills. Let me go ahead and say it that way. The Buffalo Bills are 9.5-point home favorites. The over-under of this one's 37.5. That line tells me they think it's going to be a blowout in favor of Buffalo, but we all know the NFL playoffs and how different that is. Sunday, 1:00 p.m. on CBS. No J.J. Watt in this game. He was ruled out earlier today. It's a big loss for Pittsburgh. He helps change the field position there, with 19 sacks on the season, which led the NFL. So his strip sacks and the combination of the lost yardage on third down really helped flip the field for Pittsburgh, especially in that last 3 or 4 game stretch there. Mike Tomlin's defense, they will get DeMonte KZ, former Falcon, back from suspension. But both these teams have been in playoff mode for a few weeks now. Bills have won 5 straight, Steelers 3. Look, this is tough. This is where I go Buffalo. I think Buffalo's going to cover. Here's why. They can score sixth best in the NFL, right at 26.5 points a game. And they can play defense too. Top 5 in that category, just giving up over 18 points a game. I like Buffalo to cover that large, massive spread. And hates me to do it because I like the Steelers team and what they're doing. And I think I know where Larry's going with what he said earlier. Larry, you going with the Steelers in those points?
True. I'm telling you, it's too big of a spread in a playoff game. 3 reasons why. Number 1, Pittsburgh can run the football and run it well. And when you can do that, you can control the clock and you can keep that high-powered Buffalo offense on the sideline. Number 2, with the heart and soul of that defense and T.J. Watt not being able to play, I expect at least 1, maybe 2 other people on that Steeler defense to rally the troops and get them in a mindset that, hey, it's now or never, baby. We got to either win or go home. It's now or never. I don't want to hear no excuses. Number 3, Mike Tomlin's experience in being in these environments and being in these situations I just feel, I don't know why, but I feel like they may not even win, but I do feel like they're gonna cover.
I like it. No, I really do like your pick. When a team is playing with house money, they weren't really expected to make the playoffs at one point in this season. They storm back and get there, and they get the help they needed on Sunday afternoon from the Jaguars to get there. So yeah, they're playing with house money, and a team like that's really really tough to knock out in a playoff matchup like this. Larry, you got the Steelers. TC's got the Steelers. I got the Chiefs. Wayne, what say you?
Well, I'm going to go ahead and go with the Pittsburgh Browns over the Buffalo Browns. No, I'm just kidding with you. Yeah, I'm taking Steelers in the points on that one. That point spread's too hard not to want to get.
I like it. You guys are making fun of my stutters there. Please do.
No,
It's
that's
hilarious.
not bad.
Hilarious.
The Pittsburgh Browns.
Yeah. The old Pittsburgh Packers. I'm just kidding. Green Bay Packers 9-8 travel to Dallas to take on the 12-5 Cowboys. Dallas is 7.5-point home favorites. Over under on that one's 49.5. That's the 4:30 game Sunday afternoon on Fox. Jordan Love comes into this game hot, having thrown for at least 2 touchdowns in 4 consecutive games, and he threw for over 4,000 yards in his first full season as a starter. Wayne, what say you, buddy?
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and take the Packers as well on that one. I know that may be a surprise, and do not let that information leak out to my dad because he's a huge Cowboy fan. But I've got a feeling the Cowboys, this is going to be the big upset, the Packers over the Cowboys.
I like it. Jordan Love is playing really, really well right now. As I was mentioning, he's really settled down. He's running the football when he needs to. He's making great decisions.
Plus, think about Dallas in the playoffs lately.
You took the words right out of my mouth. I was going to say the same thing. I'm anxious to see what Larry says. Larry's got him in the NFC title. Be the first one in quite a while if they get that far. Larry, they covering that 7.5-point spread?
Yeah, I think they're going to win by 10. And if I were taking the over and under, I'd definitely take the over because Dallas, for some strange reason, becomes the greatest show on turf when they play at the Jerry Dome. And the connection that Dak Prescott and CeeDee Lamb have built this entire season, it is something to behold. Dan Quinn's defense has been marvelous. You know, top 10 defense in the NFL. I think he's going to be able to scheme some things that Jordan Love hadn't seen before. And I think they're going to make his life a lot similar to what Michael Penix saw last night, with different pressures and different schemes coming from all different angles all night, all day long, all night long. I think they're going to make his life miserable. But, yeah, give me Dallas in this game because I think, you know, McCarthy's going to beat his former team. Dan Quinn knows what he's doing. He's been there before. So, and they show out when it comes to points. I think they're putting up like 28, 29 points a game anytime that they play at home. So as much as it pains me to say it, I got to take the Cowboys.
Yeah, Cowboys here for me as well. TC's got the Cowboys. To me, the difference in this ball game right here is the Dallas team's top 5 in offense and defense. First in offense, 5th in defense. Micah Parsons having a great year. Really, the timely sacks, as I was mentioning with T.J. Watt, that's what Micah Parsons brings to the table. You need that 3rd and 6. It turns into a 3rd and 11 where they were just inside field goal range, and then they just get outside of field goal range, and you're punting it, and then you get the ball back, you score the touchdown. Could be a 10-point swing just like that with a simple sack, folks. That's what Micah Parsons means to this defense. That's what Micah Parsons does for a living. I like the Cowboys to cover that big spread. I like them by double digits too, Larry. We're on the same page there. Our 5th game, the Rams, 10-7, travel to Detroit, take on the Lions, 12-5. Lions are 3-point home favorites. Over under on this one's 51.5. Sunday night football, 8 o'clock p.m. on NBC. Storylines galore in this game, folks. We all know them. Stafford playing his old team, Goff playing his old team, blah, 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 traded for each other. Stafford wins the Super Bowl. Goff goes here and goes off. Storylines galore. Rams running back Kyron Williams is third in rushing in the NFL this year. The Lions are the second best team in football, stopping the run, allowing just over 88 yards a game. So I think that shades it towards Detroit and the home team a little bit. Tight end Sam Laporta is questionable, but I think even if he doesn't play, which would be a huge loss, your first home playoff game in 30 years, you're going to be jacked up, ready to play. Dan Campbell is going to have this team ready to go, and they will be perfect on Sunday night. They're going to play a great ball game, and the Lions are going to cover. I like the Lions at home right here, right now. TC's got the Lions as well. Larry, what say you?
Yeah, I'm right along the lines with y'all, man. It's that running game for the Rams is going to be tough to handle, but the defense from Detroit, when they play at home, they've just been outstanding all season long. I think the real key, though, is the running game for the Lions, and can they really get past that front line, the defensive line of the Rams? I know it's going to be emotional for Matt Stafford being back home, but at the end of the day, I think the Montgomery-Gibbs connection is going to be just outstanding. The passing game, the way everything just levels out, I just can't. As much as I would like to try to find a way for Stafford to win back at his old building, I just don't see it, man. Give me Detroit.
Yeah, it's going to be real tough. I think this is the most upset-prone game of the weekend, besides the one upset I am picking, and it is in the next game. So I just kind of gave you my pick away. But this is an upset-prone game here. But I am going with the Lions. TC's going with the Lions. Larry's going with the Lions. Wayne, are you making it a clean sweep?
I am making it a clean sweep.
Clean sweep it is. Yeah, we're all going with the Lions at home. I think the energy in that building is going to be something to watch on TV for. Honestly, that is one reason to watch this game just in general. If you're just a casual football fan, tune into this bad boy, because anytime a team has had a playoff drought like this, the energy in the building is worth watching by itself. Sixth and final game of the weekend. Todd's going with the Eagles to cover. It's 11-6 Eagles going on the road to the NFC South champions, Tampa Bay Buccaneers at 9-8. Philadelphia is a 2.5-point road favorite. Over/under, and that one's 44.5. I've already given you my pick. I'll tell you why. Monday night, 8:15 p.m. on ESPN and ABC. The Eagles have literally limped into this game. Lost 5 of 6. They're the first team since 1999 to do that. That was the Miami Dolphins who did that, and then they got routed in Dan Marino's final game of his career, like 62-7 or something like that. Wide receiver A.J. Brown's banged up with a knee injury. He is expected to play, but I think that's a difference in the ball game. And right here's why. Tampa Bay's safety, Antoine Winfield Jr., has had a tremendous season. 12 passes defended, 3 interceptions, 6 forced fumbles to go along with four fumble recoveries, and he's got 6 sacks. The guy plays all over the field, plays sideline to sideline, makes negative plays, defends passes, picks them off. I think he has a big day. Defends or breaks up a big pass, maybe gets a big strip sack early or late in this game. That changes the tide. I think Baker Mayfield's going to just get healthier and healthier as the season goes on, with less and less contact in the playoffs. This is my upset pick. I am taking the home dog because I love home underdogs. I like the Buccaneers and the points in this one, and I like the Buccaneers to win this game outright. Larry, what say you?
Yeah, I can understand the whole, you could call it from Baker to the defense with Vita Vea and Lamonte David and Winfield. I think the matchup, though, is going to be Mike Evans against the Eagles secondary. And he has been, and this is one of his lesser than average seasons for him, but he's got a weapon that you can't teach, and that's 6'6". You know, you can't teach it. And Baker has loved having him all season long. But with that being said, I think the pressure's on in Philly, and I think this game, for me, and I'll go ahead and pick it, I think the Eagles are going to win. I think it's going to be by 3. I think it's going to be closer than what people think. But the issues that Jalen Hurts and that offense has had with the banging up of A.J. Brown, even though he's going to play, I think it's going to set the stage for either Devontae Smith or Julio Jones to have for Julio, he's going to have a throwback game. For Devontae, he's going to have I know this is going to sound funny, but a Heisman Trophy-esque game in order for Philadelphia to move forward, because Tampa at home, no matter who they played, has been a very dangerous out all season long. We've seen them all season long being NFC South fans, being Falcons fans. Baker's playing with a rejuvenated mentality and mindset. Yeah. And I think he's like, hey, it's been so long since I've been here. I don't want to mess this time up, and I want to do what I can. So I don't knock your pick at all, JJ. I can see exactly where the logic is behind it. But I think the pressure is really on with the Philadelphia Eagles. And if I think that they don't win this, I think Nick Sirianni is immediately on the hot seat.
Yeah, no, I can't discredit that opinion. I mean, you start 10-1 and lose 5 of 6. Pressure does start to build, whether you like it or not. Todd's got the Eagles to cover. Wayne, what you got?
I am going with you and going to take the Buccaneers to upset in this game.
It just sounds good, doesn't it?
Well, it does.
This NFC South's a tough division.
It does, and I can't stop thinking about that slump that the Eagles have been in, and I don't think they're ready to come out of that funk just yet.
Yeah, I think there's something internally going on there. I don't know what's going on, but they limped in. They looked beatable at times. They looked all world beaters at the beginning of the season, and they got away from what I think got them there, which was running the football as effectively as they did. So, again, Eagles for Wayne, TC, and
no.
You went Bucks. Excuse me. Eagles for Larry and TC. Bucks for Wayne and myself, and that concludes the pick 6. Larry, you're 49-53 going into this week. TC went 5-1 last week, bringing his record to 50-52. Wayne, you had a tough week last week at 1-5, dropping your record to 47-55, and I had a 5-1 week as well last week, bringing me above 12 games above 500. That's pretty darn good picking these games. 57-45, that's our record. Let's get into our final thought and get out of here. My final thought revolves around these Falcons and the head coaching vacancy and the search that goes along with it. I did not like the fact that general manager Terry Fontenot was nowhere to be seen in that press conference. I think the GM should have as much say as anyone in the head coaching search. He didn't get that opportunity with Arthur Smith. He was hired just days after that hire was made. So please allow as many people in that Falcons front office to get their hands on some input and say, hey, Arthur, hey, Rich, listen to this. This is what I like. Get as many people as you can, get as many opinions as you can, because if not, another bad hire will be the result, which sets this franchise back even more. Larry, your final thought, buddy.
Yeah, my final thought usually is about basketball with the Hawks, but this time I'm actually going to talk about baseball with the moving of Mississippi to Columbus here next year. All the minor league baseball teams for the Atlanta Braves, with the exception of one, will all be local and will be one of the first teams in a long time to be able to have all their affiliates in the same state. That being said, just watching Alex Anthopoulos be the magician that he's been with the Chris Sale acquisition, and I think that's not going to be the last move he makes. I think there's some more chess pieces that'll be made, but it's going to be good to be able to know that I can go from Rome to Gwinnett over in Beaufort, and if I really want to make the trip, I can go to 2.5 hours of Columbus and check out all the prospects for the Atlanta Braves and can watch the big team right home in Cobb County there in Smyrna, Georgia. So looking forward to baseball season 2024 and all it has to bring for Atlanta.
Absolutely. Wayne, your final thought, man, and I'll sign us off.
The final thought is going to be tomorrow evening at 8 p.m. Eastern time. It's UTSA, that's University of Texas San Antonio Roadrunners at Memphis, playing the Memphis Tigers. This is a conference game. And even though the prediction says that Memphis is going to win by a lot, don't always count on it because they have been playing some really close games lately.
It's a good one. That's a good one. Look forward to that Memphis Tigers tip-off tomorrow night. For Larry in Adairsville, for Wayne in Memphis, Tennessee, for TC Todd Corder, who was not with us this evening, I'm JJ Jurjevich. If you like the content, please like, subscribe, give us a follow at ATL Prime Sports. And until next week, ladies and gentlemen, get you one. See ya.